Good morning.
Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle. Join us live on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM or the VTRN Sports app. Open VTRN Sports on your smart speaker or stream live on YouTube. Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle and Ty Tracy.
7:03 on this Wednesday, March 19th. Welcome to the morning warm-up. I'm Trey Lyle. That's Ty Tracy putting on some headphones. And we're here. Good morning, Ty.
Good morning, Trey. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
This is March. The NCAA tournament is here.
Did you watch last night's game?
Yes, and I listened after. So I will give you some inside baseball to kick off the show. Westwood One, who is our proud carrier of the games, we finally got him on the air, had a lot of technical issues. So if you tuned in right at 6:30 after Virginia Tech's win against VCU in baseball, shout out to Evan Hughes, you heard some lovely rock music for the first 30 minutes. And as someone who was working on it for 30 minutes and then had to be on Happy Hour at 7:30, which great episode of Happy Hour. Check that out. Front Stretch YouTube page or wherever you get your podcast. You listen to music, and it was you could tell that there was an issue, that we weren't the only station with an issue, because the guy was calling. You could tell he was panicked. The guy, the engineer I was talking to, and then he hangs up on me, like, "Hey, I have another call," meaning they were flooded with calls yesterday, but I will say they got it fixed. We got the game on, and luckily we got to the important parts. We didn't miss the important parts, the end of the game between Alabama State and St. Francis, and then obviously the entire North Carolina, San Diego State, which was a game for what, 10 minutes? Like 10 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Like I went to bed before halftime. Let's put it that way. Like I knew it was over. But let's get to it all with, in case you missed it.
Keeping up with sports 24/7 takes some serious effort, especially when you're sleeping. Don't worry, the morning warm-up stays alert around the clock. Now here is everything you missed last night.
So, starting with Jeff Goodman, I'm going to give you two Jeff Goodman reports. But first, from the field of 68, Virginia big man Blake Buchanan is going portaling. His agent, which is always weird now, Aiden Autry Jr. of Pro Mondo Sports, told Field of 68. 6'11" Buchanan averaged 5.4 points and 5.3 rebounds this season. I think next segment we're kind of going to go a little deep dive in both what's next for UVA and what's next for Virginia Tech on the hoop side. But Ty, I think you will agree with this. This will not be the first nor last name we see of UVA players going portaling. We'll just see. They need to get their coach first. Speaking of coaches, someone that Virginia will not hire is Darren DeVries. He is now the head coach of Indiana. The former West Virginia and former Drake coach is heading to West Virginia. The school announced on Tuesday. It's going to be a 6-year deal, according to Field of 68, Jeff Goodman. And Jeff Goodman's a reliable source when it comes to Indiana since his daughter went there. But I think Darren DeVries is a really good coach. If you look at what he did at West Virginia this year, they did a lot of good things. I think they overachieved. Probably should have made the NCAA tournament. At this point, I do not care about the last team in between North Carolina and West Virginia. But I'll bring up a point when we talk about the Carolina game in a second, what's going to happen with them. I think it's going to be a good hire, but you never know with these things. The good news for Darren DeVries, his son, who was at Drake and was at West Virginia and only played 8 games this season, probably will play next year. He's going to portal go to Indiana. He's one of the better players in the country. Mm-hmm. So when your son, it's kind of like I think what helped Doug McDermott, or not Doug McDermott, what's Coach McDermott. I'm blanking on his first name right now. At Creighton, is that when he first started after he took over for Oregon coach, who will be taking on Liberty, Dana Altman. This is also part of the Dare to Rise tree. Is that he had Dougie McBuckets, and Doug McDermott, who was the National Player of the Year, and that helps to have your son as one of the better players in the country when you're coming in. Craig McDermott, thank you. Thank you, Ed, who's texted me. I have a quote from Ed. By the way, when we get to Bryson later on, I want to point out. So, Ed released an official statement about, I guess I will say, about the bracket and about the guests we'll have on the fast lane, which I'll tease for right now. But we'll save that for when Bryson comes on. But I think it's all right. You never know with these hires. Granted, Darren DeVries was never really a candidate for Virginia, but it's from the Creighton tree. We'll see what happens at Indiana. Other headlines: Brandon Graham officially announced his retirement from the Eagles. He was the longest tenured Eagles in history, 15 years. He was drafted in the first round out of Michigan, and BG's a fan favorite. He basically played the Super Bowl in one arm. He came back from a torn tricep and retore his tricep. And once you knew he was coming back, this is not shocking. The Eagles probably already knew they were going to be without BG. That's why they've been signing like an Azeez Ojulari, because they just keep drafting Georgia defenders or signing them, because Azeez obviously came from the Giants. So, but yeah, BG, shout out to BG, a fan favorite who produced the greatest play in Eagles history, at least the greatest defensive play in Eagles history, when he strip sacked Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. All right. Last night we had first 4 games before we get to the NBA scores. Alabama State 70, St. Francis 68. And
that was a good game too.
It was a good game. Yeah. It was crazy. So I had it on in the background while doing happy hour, what you couldn't see. Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, well, we'll get to that in a second. I have a NASCAR headline that I forgot to write down. But Alabama State 70, St. Francis 68. Really, it's awesome that the first game of the NCAA tournament produces an Onions moment, which I need to get the Bill Rafferty sound of him saying Onions. But what a moment. This is, of course, from our folks at Westwood One.
They have to go 94 feet. Simpson will inbound under his own basket. Pinedo pressures the ball. He throws a baseball right-hand pass, arcing toward the far free throw line. It's loose under the basket. Laid up and in by Knox. 7/10 of a second to go. Amar Knox gives Alabama State the lead, 70-68. Simpson with his right hand received a 90-foot pass, the length of the floor. It was knocked off 2, 3, 4 hands. Knox grabbed it on the left block. He laid it up and in, and Alabama State, with 7/10 of a second to go, leads 70-68 over St. Francis. Welcome to March.
Wow. Throw up a baseball pass. Nobody gains control. It gets tipped around a few times and just ends up in Knox's hands, and he just puts it up easily. Wow. Like you said, this is March at its finest.
Honestly, it was a Hail Mary. Like the way the play went. So St. Francis ties it, and then they just throw this deep ball, and it gets tipped around and falls right into Knox's hands, and he lays it in with 1 second left. And the way I react to it, I turn. So like the TV that I was watching the game on in my office is like to the right of me. And I just turn this way. If you're watching on the stream, like I literally just turn like, and I see Alabama State celebrating, and I see like 1/10 left. I'm like, oh, they hit a game winner. Because it's the 16-16 game. I don't like pay fully attention to it compared to like the second game, which is like, to 11 seeds. But I was like, oh, they hit a game winner. And then I watched the replay. I'm like, how did that work? Because it literally, he threw it. The guy, I mean, it's like he just, like it literally looked, you know what play? It looked like the Washington Hail Mary against the Bears, except they didn't have a Bears defender, wasn't like, except St. Francis defender wasn't yelling at the crowd right beforehand. It just like tipped perfectly and fell in Amar Knox's hands, and he lays it in, which he led the way for the Hornets, 16 points. Which more importantly about these, and it's why I'm glad like the 16 and 16 games happen. They're going to get Alabama State and the SWAC are going to get a full NCAA tournament, like as if you won you won the first round game. They're going to get a full NCAA tournament unit, and over the next I think 6 years, it's like $2 million, which that's a lot of money for the SWAC. So that's also why it's good, and you feel for St. Francis.
But I think like what made it more crazy was like before the Hail Mary pass, it was like a lot, like both teams was like having a hard time controlling the ball, and you like who got the ball, then that's how Alabama State got the ball and that Hail Mary happened. I'm like, yo, they is like getting out of control of the ball hand. Like nobody, it would just lose balls everywhere. And next thing you know, Alabama State got it, and that's how the Hail Mary came into play.
It worked out. It definitely did. All right. Game 2. And if you did not think this is what was going to happen, you clearly do not understand the NCAA tournament. There have been too many times in my life where I've heard, oh, this team doesn't deserve to get in. Like they become the subject of the team that doesn't deserve to get in. And it goes of two ways. They either beat the brakes off the team in the first 4 or they get their brakes beaten in. And once Carolina went up like 10, I was like, okay, they're going to beat the brakes off this team. And here's the spoiler alert. They're going to advance. I have 2 examples of this. When the first was invented, the team that was controversially put in was VCU over, ironically, Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
I remember because I was upset at the time. I changed my tune by the Final Four because I lived in Richmond, but that's a different point. But I remember Dickie V going, oh, it's unbelievable. Why is VCU in over Virginia Tech? And that was a cry of uproar. Then a few years, and then guess what they do, Ty?
What?
They go to the Final Four. Syracuse. I remember when Syracuse got in, and everyone was like, why is Syracuse in? Well, Virginia fans will remember, and I will remember. Another reason why I hate Virginia, because I lost my bracket group because of this game. I picked like half the Final Four. This random lady at my mom's work just happened to randomly put Syracuse in her Final Four. So she won because she got more points for that. But Syracuse beats Virginia. Syracuse goes to the Final Four, being the controversial team left in. I'm telling you right now, I don't know how far. I'm going to have Carolina going pretty decently. We're going to reveal our brackets tomorrow. Carolina 95.
I mean, I ain't gonna
San
lie.
Diego State 68. And honestly,
they put them in the chokehold, and I'm like, well, you know what?
It was BTA.
I see why they need it. I see why.
It was BTA, and you can Google what that means.
I know. I bet the West Virginia governor ain't saying nothing no more.
Well,
he probably said, you know what? I'm gonna keep my mouth shut on that one now.
Well, it's funny. Poor West Virginia. I feel for West Virginia, man. You don't get in. You don't get into the tournament. You probably deserve to. Like, I'm not here to argue whether North Carolina. Again, there's a lot of good points for both sides. Like, West Virginia win your conference tournament games. Like, Carolina did that. Beat, Carolina could have beat more, yes, but they also scheduled it. Like, the fact they had 13 Q1 opportunities is insane.
Yeah.
But the fact they kicked their butt. We're about to have Bryson on later today, and he's going to probably be high and mighty, Mr. Carolina fan. And I mean, it was over it was about 8 minutes in, it was close. And then from that point on, it was over. It was over. They were up 40.
Yeah.
They were up 40, and it include a phenomenal performance from R.J. Davis.
Cadeau on the run. Throws it to Davis. Right wing Trey. It's good. R.J. Davis is 6 for 6. The first Carolina player in NCAA tournament history to go 6 for 6 from 3. He has tied the single-game NCAA tournament three-pointer record in Tar Heels history. He has 26 nearly flawless points, and it's been nothing but Carolina blue in Dayton tonight. Tar Heels up by 40 with 7:31 to play in the second half of the first 4.
So these are two teams that were national runner-ups in 23 and 22 respectively. Like San Diego State is a really good I think they're like third in wins in the last 5 years. Like only Houston and Alabama are better or something like that.
I think so.
Houston and Gonzaga maybe.
Yeah.
It was with 12:37 left in the first half. It was 13-11 North Carolina. By halftime, it was 47-23.
You probably like
belt to. I'm not going to say the next word.
Yeah.
They kicked their, and it's they just shot bad. I mean, San Diego State is not a good offensive team. They're a young team too. I mean, their best player was Lamont Butler last year, and he's playing for Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina shoots 52 points. They nearly shoot 60% from three.
Yeah.
They out rebounded by 11. I mean, this is not shocking. Like, honestly, it is not shocking.
I'm like,
knowing the history of the NCAA tournament. Ironically, this is not a Q1 win because it's you have to be a top 51 team in net, and I don't think San Diego State is a top 51 team. But I'm telling you right now, I think the line would be out for the Ole Miss game. No, yes, it is. Ty, you want to guess the line in the Ole Miss game?
No, you just tell me.
Come on, take a guess. If I'm telling you it's got to be low.
Like 30.
No, how many points is Ole Miss? One school is favored.
Oh,
like the spread.
I feel like North Carolina is probably like what, by like 5 or 10.
You're going a little overboard. They're a 1.5 point favorite, and I'm telling you right now, I will spoil this part. Like, let's be real here about North Carolina before we get to a couple other headlines. Their path is easy. Their path is open.
Yeah, because they in the South, right?
Yeah, they're in the same. So they're going to play Ole Miss, and they're a 1.5 point favorite.
If they win,
they take Iowa State.
And I think Iowa State lost their star. I think their star player too.
One of their best players.
Yeah,
their starting guard.
Yeah,
who's out for the entire tournament? In Keyshawn Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, they've played without Keyshawn Gilbert for a few games, but that opens the door for North Carolina. There is a clear path for North Carolina to get to the Sweet 16, and we have seen this too many times. With this first four team, the last team in, you give a team like Carolina, who has top 20 talent with RJ Davis and Godot and Withers, like they're going to. I'm telling you right now, they're going to make a run, and we're going to reveal more of our bracket tomorrow. But I'm telling you right now, I have North Carolina in my Sweet 16, and I feel pretty good about it because, especially, and I'm not even overreacting. Like they honestly could have beat San Diego. Like if you flip these scores from the first four games, and it was UNC 70 and San Diego State 68. Granted, shout out to St. Francis. They scored just as many points as San Diego State. I'm telling you the same thing. I'm telling you, this is how this stuff works. I've accepted it. I was mad at when Syracuse got in and they ended up in the Final Four, and I was like, I hate it. I spite picked against them, and then they proved me wrong. This happens every year. I'm telling you right now. It happens every year that if there's a team that controversially gets in, they go on a run in the NCAA tournament. And I'm telling you right now, the most confident pick I could make the NCAA tournament is North Carolina making a run, just because it happens. It always does.
Yeah, because they just clicked at the right time at the right moment, and I'm just like, where was this team at?
Don't overrate this game. Like San Diego State's a young team, Carolina's an old team. Like they beat them by 40. Like I'm not here to overrate that game. It's more of we've seen this too many times in the NCAA tournament where a team controversially gets in and they go on a run.
Yeah, because they got that momentum going.
Just what a time. What a time. All right. Other news, in case you missed it. Progressive is actually becoming back in NASCAR. They become an anchor sponsor for Denny Hamlin. They'll be on their car for 18 races this year. Shout out to that. I guess it's good to see some stability. I thought sponsorship might end the time. I don't know, with Joe Gibbs Racing, Denny Hamlin. It just, if they weren't able to fight.
Bless you.
Thanks. That big of a sponsor with him, could this be his last year with Joe Gibbs? But they find it, so that's awesome to see. And other headlines. Baseball is happening. We mentioned it yesterday. Dodgers ultimately win 4-1, and in the first game of the Tokyo series, and currently going on right now, they are up 5-2 in the Tokyo series. And most notably from that game is not Shohei Ohtani. It's the debut of Roki Sasaki for the Dodgers, the 23-year-old pitching phenom. He went 3 innings, one hit, 1 earned run, and 3 strikeouts. The Cubs, I get why the Cubs did it, but the Cubs really shouldn't have taken their pitcher out yesterday. In Sasaki, he was pitching a no-hitter. Or no, Sasaki. I'm dumb. Shota Igmana, I think is how you pronounce it. He pitched 4 innings of no-hit ball, but he did have 4 walks. But they pulled it because they kind of are treating this like a spring training game, even though this is a regular season game.
Mm-hmm.
They actually still play spring training game. And for the people out there being like, what did I know about this? Why did baseball not promote this? We'll talk more about. We'll try to get Matt on Friday. Do some predictions as baseball season's right around the corner. This is way more about baseball in Japan than it is about baseball in the United States. They're trying to grow the game in Japan, and that's what this is 100% way more about. And it's just, it's that's why you probably didn't see the promotion you wanted. You woke up probably yesterday morning or this morning, and maybe you're tuning into Fox to watch your morning news. I think WFXR actually had it on their affiliate station, but still, you could be like, oh, baseball's on. What? This is a regular season game? Ohtani's playing. It's way more about growing the game in Japan than it is here. All right, we have today in sports history still to come. We're gonna get philosophical about Virginia Tech next here on the morning warm up, 7:25. Almost 7:26 here on the morning warm-up. We're here with Colt from We Fix Stupid Computers. Colt, to go along with your residential or individual walk-in services that you offer, you also do a lot of business IT support. How about you discuss that, and what specifically do you do to help businesses in the area?
We see a lot of that. Small to medium-sized businesses, they still have their IT projects. They still need resources to help them within their office and for remote users. And so we'll step in and fill in the gap where we do a lot of projects for them, help them manage their resources, their budgets, and get their technology under control.
Colt, how can these people reach out to you to assess their IT needs?
Call us. Our number is 434-525-8590. Our website, wefixstupidcomputers.com. We're on Facebook. And our office is here locally, 14690 Forest Road, right next to Scott's Cabinet on 221.
When you're voted one of the best plumbers according to Lynchburg Living magazine, you want to hire the best. Sullivan Plumbing wants the best plumbers to join our award-winning team. Do you have a clean driving record? Do you have at least 4 years plumbing experience? Then you're a 5-star recruit, and Sullivan Plumbing would love to meet with you. Take the first step. Call Sullivan Plumbing in downtown Lynchburg or email sullivanplumbing@gmail.com.
Welcome to the Villas at Oakwood. Our stunning community offers spacious, modern, wheelchair-accessible villas with top-of-the-line amenities. Enjoy views from the Peaks of Otter from your patio home. Connect with neighbors at our exclusive clubhouse. Discover your dream home today. Experience the maintenance-free lifestyle that you deserve. Visit us behind the Bedford Memorial Hospital, online at thevillasatoakwood.com, or just contact Robin Lee Sage at 434-238-4477.
It's natural to wonder why you should consult a legal advocate after a serious auto accident. The reason is personal injury cases are complex. Hi, I'm Randy Trost of Trost Law. Filing a claim isn't just about filling out a form and waiting for a check in the mail. Most accident resolutions require intricate knowledge of Virginia's personal injury laws and experience working with insurance companies. That's where Trost Law will help. Call us at 777-HURT and visit trostlaw.com so we can do the work to obtain the best result for you.
Guests are great, except unwanted guests. At Specialty Exterminating, we know the difference. Hi, I'm Sabrina Kennan with Specialty Exterminating. We help you keep unwanted pests out of your home. Now we can keep those reptiles away. Our new reptile repellent is the perfect add-on for your pest prevention service. It's pet and people safe, so it's perfect for any homeowner, especially pool owners and homes in wooded and rural areas. Call us so we can repel the reptiles. Specialty Exterminating, your pest prevention partner since 1979.
Head to lynchburg-hillcats.com to lock in your ticket for the Lynchburg Hillcats this season. Now here's VTR in Sport.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected with the show at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
7:30 on this Wednesday, and I'm rounding, by the way, because we're about 10 seconds from the bottom of the hour. On this Wednesday, March 19th. Hope you're enjoying yourself. I hope Ed is enjoying the car line. Hope it went smooth. He did text us. I'm assuming he's listening in the car, whether it's on the VTRN Sports app or 93.3 FM on the radio. Stereo. The way you move ain't fair, you know. Shout out Train. Ty, I think this is going to be I think this is going to be, when I start saying the years, you're going to think, oh, this is difficult. But I think when I ask the questions, you're going to get them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just laughing at, but yeah.
Oh yeah, he said Train. Really? Hey, they're a great band, like the Backstreet Boys, who were on John Hunter Nemechek's car this week, and I could hit you with some Backstreet Boys right now if you want. I figured we sort of became a music channel for about 15 minutes yesterday because of Westwood won, so I figured I'd keep that going. But it's funny that I think this is going to be an interesting day in sports history. We're gonna teach some people some things, and it's just okay. Thank you, Ed.
Malibu Most Wanted right there. I love that movie.
He hit us with a Malibu Most Wanted gif. All right, thank you for throwing me off there, Ed. But I appreciate it. He's got a great quote for Bryson, by the way. All right, that's coming up. All right, let's do this.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
Many doubted we'd ever see it. But here it is. The return to glory.
It's time for Today in Sports History.
Seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
They go length of the court with Archie Diacono. 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
Let's hear what Ty really knows about what happened on this day in sports history.
All right. On this date in 1955, this San Francisco, the Dons, won the NCAA basketball championship 77-63 over LaSalle. It was their first of back-to-back national championships. They were led by this player.
Is it 1955?
Yes. You should know this. This is like one of the most iconic players in NBA history. The year should give you a big hint. 1955.
San Francisco?
The University of San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco. University of San Francisco?
Yes.
That's it?
That's the school.
Mhm.
No, that's not the I need a player's name.
Oh,
The player led San Francisco in winning their first of back-to-back national championships on this date in 1955 when they beat LaSalle. Your hint is 1950. Like your hint is he's an all-time great, and this is 1955. That gives you like
Wilt Chamberlain?
What Chandler?
Wilt Chamberlain?
No, it was Bill Russell. You got to think when you think of winners, think of Bill Russell. If I was saying like he scored 100 points allegedly, because there's no video.
Yeah, I was.
Wilt Chamberlain. No, it was Bill Russell.
Okay, I was like,
that just proves how big of a winner Bill Russell was. He won 11 titles and 2 national championships. Yes, he was the leader of this team. Also, shout Casey Jones, another underrated player. He was on this team. He was also a Celtic. But yes, Bill Russell won.
I was like, was it? I was like, I thought for some reason I said Wilt Chamberlain. I'm like,
no, he was. Yeah. So just to show how awesome, Bill Russell was a 2-time NCAA champion. He was the most outstanding player in this NCAA tournament. His 6. Yeah. So it was Bill Russell. All right, we're off to a bad start. All right, I picked this one because there's also a whole movie based off of this. In 1966, this school was the first to start 5 black players and won the NCAA.
Texas Western.
Can I finish the question?
My bad.
The NCAA basketball championship with a 72-65 upset over all-white Kentucky, and you are correct. It is Texas Western.
Was Pat Riley on that team?
On the Kentucky team?
Yeah.
I don't think Pat Riley went to Kentucky. Did Pat Riley really go to Kentucky? Like, you get this. I'm going to give you bonus points. No, he went to, yeah, you're right. He was in 1967. So he played 67 to 76 on Kentucky. So no, that's a whole decade later.
Okay.
All right. Now we're going 2006 when you were alive. Now, right? This player became the first woman to dunk in an NCAA tournament game when she had a one-handed breakaway jam with 6-12 into the second seed, their second seeded win 102-54 against Army team, which was making their tournament debut. If I gave you the team, you would get the player. There's
it's
like
not clicking. Now it's playing Candace Parker.
Yeah, I was about to say it's kind of an iconic moment.
Like, Todd, get out.
That's why I didn't want to give you the player. If I gave you Tennessee, like if I said Tennessee,
No, I remember watching that. I was like,
Candace Parker. All right, so you went 2-1, which I can't believe you didn't get. Put some respect. Like
for some reason, I was like, Wilt Chamberlain? I was like,
no, winner. When you think winner, you think Bill. When you think fake points, Bill, you think Wilt Chamberlain. Like, again, there are very few conspiracy theories I actually believe in. As the years have gone on, and we're getting off topic here, but we can take this detour. There is so much film now from like old times. Every time I see a film from like, this is from the 1940s, I'm like, all right.
How somebody record this? That's my biggest question. And how did somebody keep that for that long?
How are there no pictures? Like the only picture from Wilt Chamberlain scoring 100 points is him holding that dumb photo up with a piece of paper. Like it, I'm like it is like one of the very few conspiracy theories like I actually believe in, like truly believe in, because you could just tell. Home box scores like to spread things out. And so like I think Kobe, part of me is like Kobe's 81 is better. Well, Kobe's 81 is better than Wilt's 100 because
we was alive. And
I
seen some of it too while I was young. I remember.
There's actual footage of the Kobe 81, but there's not footage of that's different. It's more of level of competition. Like Wilt was so good. Wilt was taller than everyone and just kind of like,
My biggest question was like, even though they had no 3 points back in the day, it's no way y'all didn't stop Hill from scoring 100.
Yeah.
How many quarters they was playing too?
I mean,
or how many minutes they was playing each quarter?
I think it's always been the same time.
You sure?
Yes, I'm 100% sure. So his 100-point game, I can't believe it happened on March 2nd, 1962. at the Hershey Sports Arena in Hershey, Pennsylvania, as the Knicks lost to the Philadelphia Warriors 169-147.
The Philadelphia Warriors. Wow.
They became the Sixers.
That's what I'm saying. The Philadelphia Warriors.
Actually, I think they moved to Golden. I don't know. I really so the Philadelphia, which now we're on a completely different thing. So yeah, okay. So the Golden State Warriors were the Philadelphia Warriors at first. So yeah, so the game was not televised. There's no video footage has been recovered. There's only the audio recordings of the game's fourth quarter, which was added to actually the National Recording Registry and the Library of Congress in 2016. The NBA was not yet recognized as a major sports league and struggled to compete against college basketball. So the attendance of the game was approximately half capacity, and no members of the New York press were present. I'm just saying, when you want to get headlines saying 100-point game against the Knicks, I mean, it's possible. There's only one quarter of actual archive.
I'm just saying, like, some of us not adding right.
We have gotten completely off topic. We have to go to break because we're supposed to get Bryson on. We were going to talk about the future of Virginia Tech, but instead we talked about Will Chamberlain's 100-point game. So we're going to go to break. When we come back, Bryson Gordon gets to be high and mighty because his North Carolina Tar Heels
You see a flex?
Kicked. Oh, I see it. He's on camera flexing. I have an official statement from Ed Lane, by the way, which we'll read, and much more here on the Morning Warm-Up, 7:40 on this March 19th.
We are making it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years. With the best selection, value, finance options, and exceptional service. Plus 900 pre-owned vehicles all in one location. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume. The Used Car Superstore is your one-stop for most makes and models. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Plus, Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile with finance options for every budget. 900 used vehicles in stock now. More than any other dealer in the area. Hurry in for straightforward pricing and more inventory arriving daily. Why wait? Make it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier family-owned car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
When you're voted one of the best plumbers according to Lynchburg Living magazine, you want to hire the best. Sullivan Plumbing wants the best plumbers to join our award-winning team. Do you have a clean driving record? Do you have at least 4 years plumbing experience? Then you're a 5-star recruit, and Sullivan Plumbing would love to meet with you. Take the first step. Call Sullivan Plumbing in downtown Lynchburg or email sullivanplumbing@gmail.com.
Guests are great, except unwanted guests. At Specialty Exterminating, we know the difference. Hi, I'm Sabrina Kennan with Specialty Exterminating. We help you keep unwanted pests out of your home. Now we can keep those reptiles away. Our new reptile repellent is the perfect add-on for your pest prevention service. It's pet and people safe, so it's perfect for any homeowner, especially pool owners and homes in wooded and rural areas. Call us so we can repel the reptiles. Specialty Exterminating, your pest prevention partner since 1979.
When the thrill of playing ball turns into the agony of a broken windshield or car window, contact Apple Auto Glass. Your local auto glass repair shop on Allegheny Avenue in Lynchburg, Apple Auto Glass provide a professional assessment with the honesty from your neighbors, so you can get back to sharing the great moments this season.
Your home is more than just walls and windows. It's where life happens. And at Right Choice Construction, we get that. We're not just builders. We're fathers, mothers, neighbors, just like you. And every nail and every beam reflects our commitment to creating a place you're proud to live in. With Right Choice Construction, you're choosing a team that's been perfecting the art of building for years. So build with us, build with experience, build with quality, build with Right Choice.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
So we've decided, as it's 7:43 on this March 19th, when Ty gets 100 today in sports history things right, which hopefully soon, we're gonna recreate the Will Chamberlain photo. So that was actually our whole break. We kept talking about the conspiracy theory that Will Chamberlain scored 100 points. As we're welcomed by a man wearing a very ugly hat, Bryson Gordon. He's rocking the Red Sox hat. Just disgusting.
Only a couple more weeks.
Well, yeah, for them to finish.
A couple more weeks. Hey.
But don't worry, the smack talk will continue. We got The Rock versus John Cena and Bryson Gordon versus Ty Tracy in our bracket group. If you want to join at Trey Lyle VT, I posted the link. I will make it my pinned tweet as of right now. So if you go there, it's my pinned tweet. You can just click the link and then you can join our bracket group. It's possibly win some stuff from InsaneRadioDeals.com, where hopefully you can take over your chance to see if you are outsmarting us. And I have an official statement before we begin. We possibly could have the legend Danny Green on the fast lane later today. At least Ed is trying. So Ed wants you to know that he's going to posterize you like Danny Green did, like he's Danny Green and you're Greg Hollis. So just want to point that out. Any response to that?
He's reaching deep into my childhood memories to come up with ways to own me, but we won't let that happen. Danny Green, Tar Heel legend, won a championship in the NBA with the Spurs. I'm just saying, winners, and I don't think winners and Ed go in the same category. So I'm gonna have to step up and beat him. So we'll see.
Okay. Whoa. Shots fired. I don't know if Ed might be out of the carpool lane, so you might have not heard that yet. So I might have to.
Hopefully he's in the school or something that doesn't. Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't hear that.
So we'll see, man. Again, we're off. Any statement you want to say to Ty Tracy, who said, and I quote, he wants all the smoke. That's what he's been saying every break, during this week.
No, my only comment to Ty will be just watch me. Just watch me. Just watch me climb up the leaderboard all week and all next week and all 3 weeks from now in the Final Four. You'll see. Just watch me.
It's like Triple H and Shawn Michaels.
No, it's The Rock and John Cena, man.
I know.
It's once in a lifetime.
But they was best friends. Now they rivals right now.
Okay.
Once in a lifetime, but we could do this every year as long as we.
Yes.
That is true. All right. Well, I'll ask you for your picks at the end of this, but let's talk about this. So, a very successful week in Huntsville for Liberty. They win the Conference USA title both on the men's and women's side. Let's start with the women first, because I think it was a pretty special run by them. The fact they finally get over the hump where they've been second, it feels like so many times, and it's because they've had to go against premier programs consistently in women's college basketball, whether it's Florida Gulf Coast in the A-Sun, now it's Middle Tennessee in the Conference USA. Them breaking through for Carrie Green, who is very accomplished as a head coach and as a very successful program. What do you think that means for the Lady Flames? Just the fact that they finally kind of get this win in a signature moment and finally get back to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and a signature moment over that same signature team. It wasn't like they, got an upset to be able to get to this spot. They beat the team that they needed to, and they beat the team that they needed to also in the last week of the regular season to get the top spot in Huntsville. So it's really been rewarding. I think I asked Carrie Green after the Conference USA Championship game, to be able to do it in such fashion, the way that they beat down on Middle Tennessee in the next to last regular season game to put themselves in the driver's seat, and then they had the opportunity to get them again on a neutral court. It was a 1-1 season series. It was kind of, we're still trying to figure out who the better team between the two of them is, and Liberty kind of led for a lot of that game against Middle Tennessee. It got tight there in the fourth quarter, but it means a lot. You listen to Kerry Green talk, and the way he talks about Bella Smuda, who is the star player of this Liberty team, and seniors Emma Hess and Jordan Hodges, and what they've brought to his program, and their long tenures in Lynchburg, and even the girls who haven't been there as quite as long. He talks glowingly about freshmen like Avery Mills and Emmy Stout, who were from the area, and have had big roles as freshmen. Emmy Stout wasn't supposed to; she was supposed to redshirt, I believe, and not play a lot of minutes, and then there was an injury, and then she stepped up and really is starting to come into her own as somebody who maybe could be in Bella Smuda's shoes in like 3 or 4 years from now. So a lot of the stuff that Kerry Green is going through right now is really rewarding for him because of how many times I feel like you look at the Liberty women's team, and it feels like they're just banging their head against the wall with Florida Gulf Coast and Middle Tennessee. And so for him to break through and have a team that is definitely capable of winning a game or two, is really exciting for him.
And looking at their challenge, they take on a familiar opponent to myself and a familiar opponent, I think, to some people listening. Kenny Brooks in Kentucky, of course, led by future top 10 pick in the WNBA, Georgia Amore, who averages 19 and 8 and 7, and Carla Strack, who's their starting center, who is filling the Liz Kitley role, obviously stepped up for Liz Kitley last season at Virginia Tech, and then transfers with Georgia and Coach Brooks to Kentucky. This is going to be a very tough test for Liberty. Your early thoughts on the matchup between the Wildcats and the Flames?
Yeah, there were so many matchups that they could have gotten on Selection Sunday. It felt like whenever we were watching the show at Liberty Arena, every time a 3 or a 14 or a 3 or a 4 popped up, it was like, is this Liberty? Is this Liberty? And then of course Kentucky pops up, and you get another clash between Kerry Green and Kenny Brooks. They faced off 13 times, so they're very familiar with each other. As far as familiarization, if you're a Liberty fan, this is probably the matchup you wanted the least because Brooks has seen so much of what Kerry Green does, and he's seen so much of what Liberty has done, coaching in the Commonwealth for so long. But I still, like I said, I still think this Liberty team has the pieces to make a not a run, I would say, but maybe win a game or two. It's tough that they go up against Kentucky, who has a lot of the pieces that can counter what Liberty does, right? You think about Amore and how special she is, and then you think about Strack, who is awesome in her first season at Kentucky, following Brooks over. She's been pretty much all SEC and everything you could think of. I mean, her ability to even knock down threes this year has improved from her time at Virginia Tech, and so it's a tough matchup, physically wise, because Strack is so tall and she's so strong, and she could probably hang with Bella Smuda. But you look at what Smuda did against Boulder Rava in Middle Tennessee State a couple times this season, and she's probably the closest comparison to somebody like Strack that Liberty would see in Conference USA. And so to have some experience against really tall bigs and have a fifth-year senior like Smuda, who has seen pretty much every big in America, right? She's even played against Liz Kitley, and so she went up against Maya Berkman in every day in practices. And so these are things that are going to be in Liberty's favor a little bit. But when you look at the matchup on paper, obviously Kentucky, played really strong in the SEC all year. It feels like a tough team for Liberty to get in the first round.
Yeah, you mentioned Smuda. She averages nearly 12 points on 55% shooting. That'll work. That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
That's so I think it's gonna be a fun matchup out in Lexington, which also I'm glad that they're in Lexington. Even I think the fact they do the home games in the women's side, they should do it for the men's side, like the home sites. It's actually better. Like, it's so much better.
Yeah.
As someone who's got to kind of see it in Castle the last 2 years and all these home sites, I think it's actually it's like the home games in the college football playoff. That can be a different discussion we could do down the line. It's not going to happen because of money, but still. Moving to the men's side, they're on the complete opposite. They're all the way in the West Coast. Is the Liberty Flames, as they're going to take on Oregon, as they're going to be in Seattle. They're the last game on Friday. They're literally the last game in the first round. Like, they're the last game of the first round. Whereas the women are the third game of the first round. So
second or third game. Yeah.
So sorry, Liberty fans, you get a wide spread of things. I guess you could theoretically, go to Lexington, drive to Lexington, and then fly from Lexington to Seattle to make it work. So
nah, you do that, you out of your mind.
I agree with you, Ty. That's a little too much travel for me. But looking at this game against Oregon, it's similar to the women's side in terms of you face a brand name. I think you face one of the premier coaches in all of college basketball, and Dana Altman, who's just been a consistent winner whether his time at Creighton, which we mentioned at the top of the show, or his time at Oregon. I think this is a better matchup for Liberty on the men's side because they don't provide the size that you probably, if you're playing Liberty, you want at the guard position. Talking to Rich McKay this week, what is his early thoughts on this matchup against Oregon? Because it should be an interesting one.
Yeah, it's going to be, you mentioned similar matchups to Kentucky, right? It's also kind of funny whenever they announced Oregon and that O popped up in Liberty Arena on the screen the other night, there were some audible groans in the arena. I think it was just some staleness with the Fiesta Bowl that kind of did this in. So they were definitely thinking about that. But I think the number one thing from McKay here this week has been just adoration for what Dana Altman has done at Oregon and what he's done at every stop along the way. And really how good this Oregon team is what comes out of Richie McKay's mouth whenever you talk about him or whenever he talks about Oregon. And listen to Dana Altman talk about Liberty, he doesn't know much. That's kind of the difference between these two coaches right now. I'm sure if Altman's caught up on film and seen a lot of what Caden Matheny and some of those guys did in the Conference USA tournament last week, but the matchup it's an interesting one. Nate Biddle is he's a true 7-footer, so that's going to be a positional matchup problem for Liberty. But you look in the front court, it's not like it's some overpowering guards that they use. They don't use, even Conference USA teams had bigger guards than Oregon did, and so the Oregon guards shoot a little bit better. They're all Big Ten production, especially Shellstat, who McKay thinks could possibly be an NBA player despite being just 6 foot 6'1". So that really tells you about his scoring prowess to be that small and still have a chance to be a really high quality NBA player in some college coaches' eyes. And so this is a matchup, if you're a Liberty fan, that in the backcourt you like, in the front court you kind of squint and you're like, that doesn't look great. But maybe Owen Aquino could stay out of foul trouble and give us 20, 25 minutes against Biddle. And if you're a Liberty fan, you say we knocked down 15 threes, and that might be the recipe for playing again on Sunday.
Yeah, and Oregon's playing really good basketball late. Obviously, they lose to Michigan State in the Big Ten tournament, but they before that they won. I believe it was 7 straight, maybe 8 straight, heading into the Big Ten tournament, or including that win against Indiana in the Big Ten tournament. What do you think it's going to take for Liberty to advance in this game, and then maybe a second round game, whether it's against Arizona, which I actually think they match up well, given your favorite player Caleb Love's history, or an Akron team that also could be a stylistically good matchup for them.
Yeah, well, think about Akron. I was looking at the heights last night because when I was watching North Carolina and San Diego State, and I was kind of shocked with, looking forward to Carolina's matchups about, how they match up with Ole Miss and Padula, somebody who played in the Commonwealth as well, who's going to be a part of that game. And I had no idea that Akron is, the only 2 teams smaller than North Carolina, who's a relatively small team in the tournament, is Akron and Akron and oh my goodness, I'm freed up something. But anyways, it's 2 teams we talked about. So I think about when you think about Liberty, the way they can make a run and the way they can impact this game against Oregon is going to be shooting. We talked about the prowess of Matheny last week. What he did in the semifinal, if he does that on Friday, late in the night in Seattle, he might put his name up there with some March Madness legends. With some of these shots that he was making and the incredible degree of difficulty that he was doing it with, and so. I think this is the really quality shooting Liberty team. You look at all the graphs that have been out from all these, college basketball analytics pages that are ranking the things that are key in upsets, like 3 points and, your ability to play defense. Well, Liberty can play defense. They've given up 80 points on a couple of occasions here as of late, but they know how to play defense. And then, of course, you think about the ability to blend, 3-point efficiency with 3-point volume, and nobody does that better than Liberty. And so the recipe looks like, as simple as it says, it looks like maybe they hit 12 threes at 40%, or maybe they hit 13, 14 threes at 50%, and it's an incredible day. And that's how they get past Oregon. And then when you get past Oregon, you get into one game, everything's rolling at that point. All bets are off the table, especially when you have a team that when you picture a Liberty win, it looks like a hot shooting team. If they can get one going, you never really know when it's going to stop.
You touched on Caden Matheny, and it wanted me to bring up his performance in the Conference USA tournament. Now heading into the NCAA tournament, he won tournament most outstanding player. Like he was phenomenal in those last 2 games. He really saved them against Kennesaw State. He hit 7 threes against them, and then 5 threes in the championship game. Having a guy like that who's this hot shooting the basketball in the NCAA tournament, it could get, the classic white guy who shoots a bunch of threes, the Jack Golkes of the world, the Fletcher McGee. Shout out to Mike Young. That's a joke. Is the white guy who shoots threes, but
it could happen.
But it could happen. Like
it does happen every year.
Truly, how shocked, or I guess lack of shocked, would you be if this time next week we're talking about NCAA tournament legend Caden Matheny?
No, I mean, it wouldn't be that surprising. I think coming into Huntsville, the form he was coming into Huntsville on, maybe it would have been a little bit surprising because he was struggling a little bit. But to see him bust out of that in such a fashion, especially the Kennesaw State, second half when, for all intents and purposes for Liberty, the season was on the line. They wanted to go to the NCAA tournament. There was no, dream and hope of going to anything smaller than that. And so for him to be able to put the team on his back in the second half, that was just a little bit of a show of what he could do. And it'll be tougher against Oregon. Oregon's a lot better defensively than Kennesaw. They're a lot bigger than Kennesaw. They're, just in general, a better coach team. They're a better team than Kennesaw. So it's going to be difficult. But to think that, next Monday, next Tuesday, we're thinking about, Caden Matheny hit 14 threes over the weekend and sent Liberty into the Sweet 16. I mean, it's not something we haven't really seen from him before. So I wouldn't rule it out.
As you're listening here on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM W227 BG Timberlake and 1320 AM WVGM Lynchburg. Give me a key for Liberty to advance against not just Oregon, but let's say to the second weekend, to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, like I said, I still think it's 3-point shooting, but I think a little bit is going to come from defense. You think about the historic teams from Richard McKay who have been successful, have been strong defensively. Like I said, there have been some games where they kind of let things get away from them and let the scores get into the high 70s and 80s. If you do that with Oregon and you do that with potentially a second round matchup, it's going to be really hard to replicate that scoring 2 nights in a row in the NCAA tournament for a mid-major team. And so I think they're going to have to find their way a little bit more defensively against some better teams on the offensive end in Oregon, and maybe a potential second round matchup. So they're gonna have to lock in defensively, in addition to, like we keep saying, maybe get 12 or 13 threes. That might be the recipe to play in a couple of games.
Do you think that would be a big part of the situation for Liberty? Because they're like, I didn't say lack of bench, but like they always have like two one players come off the bench and everything.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I do think that they're kind of at an advantage in the Conference USA schedule. This schedule is not uncommon to them. A lot of Big Ten teams play midweek games. They'll play, early Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and still play again, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. Liberty's played the same schedule all year. They played Saturdays and then they've come back on Thursdays, and that's just kind of been the way the Conference USA things have gone. And so if you're looking at Liberty from that perspective, it's beneficial because they're not in a position where they're kind of turning around on short rest. This is completely standard for them, is having 5 days off before their game. And so you think about that, and then you think about also turning around. So were they to win, they would play again on the weekend. So those are some things that they've gone through already this year with the Conference USA schedule. And then they've already been out to Seattle early on in the season. And so if you're looking at, kind of the small little things like that, they do add up in Liberty's favor, at least a little bit, where you think about, okay, they've been there before and they do the schedule. And so that's not something to be super worried about, unless you're getting into some really long games, maybe in overtime or something.
At Bryson Gordon on Twitter, great breakdown of Liberty's game against Oregon. So we'll give you the final question. Your final four, and you can throw in an upset pick if you want.
Yeah, okay. I'll go fast, because it's tough after Liberty was called.
I was going to say this is subject to change because mine will be flip-flopping before noon tomorrow on Thursday.
I was going to say, I got 28 hours to make more picks, so I'm sure I'm going to change a couple more. I need to pull up a bracket and look also, because once they called Liberty on Selection Sunday, everything started changing, and I think some of us in the media missed the bracket. But my final four, I do have Houston, I have Duke, I have St. John's, and I have Michigan. And Michigan. I think there's always a team that's a little bit lower seeded. I think their size is such a huge advantage, Michigan, against some of the teams in the bracket. Houston, I think Houston has the easiest bracket. I wouldn't trust Tennessee in March Madness. And obviously Kentucky's a different story as well without their best player. And so I think I don't want to spoil my championship game because we're in a bracket together, so I don't want you to pick my picks. But I think we're gonna have a couple legends in the championship game this year, coaching wise. I'll say that. So.
Well, I will reveal my champion tomorrow. You can text it to me you can text it to me tomorrow if you really want to, so I can say it on the air. But that will do it for Bryson today. Thanks so much, man. Enjoy the NCAA tournament. We'll have you on next week to react to all of it. And, we'll see. You could have a second weekend of basketball coverage. It just depends on how it goes.
Yeah, they're not sending me to Seattle. They're sending me to Lexington to cover the girls. But if the guys, somehow make it to Newark, I don't think we would miss that one. So if the guys survive, we'll be there.
At Bryson Gordon on Twitter. That will do it today for the morning warm-up. Thanks so much to Ty. Thanks so much to Bryson. Shout out to Ed for his commentary throughout. And he'll have the fast lane later today. And check that out then. So that will do it for today here on the morning warm-up. We also have the first four again tonight, 6:30 airtime right here on VTR Sports. Now by VSiN, by the book.
And what the market does, knowing that kind of pedigree coming over here to the Big Ten.
By the way, we're going to have Tom Crean join us in hour number 3, former Indiana head